Don't tell yourself you've just lost your fire. That's a lie you've been repeating to make your decay feel temporary. The truth is colder than that. You didn't lose it. You buried it, layer by layer, under years of saying yes when your soul screamed no, under every moment you chose approval over truth, under every quiet act of self-betrayal that no one applauded, but everyone benefited from. And now you sit there, wondering why nothing excites you anymore, why the things you once loved feel empty, why you can smile, function, respond, and still feel like something inside you has gone silent. Here's what no one told you. Your fire doesn't die in chaos. It dies in compliance. Every time you shrink to fit into someone else's expectations, you don't become more loved, you become more invisible to yourself. And if you keep going like this for another year, you won't just feel lost. You will forget there was ever a version of you worth finding. This is not a video to comfort you. This is where we dig through the ashes and decide if you're ready to face what you've done to your own fire and take it back. I know how those words land because I've lived inside that silence. There was a time when I could go through an entire day, meetings, conversations, laughter, even small wins, and still come home feeling like I had abandoned myself somewhere along the way. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was subtle, like a slow leak no one notices until the structure starts collapsing. I remember one night sitting on the edge of my bed, phone in my hand, scrolling without seeing anything. Messages came in, people needed responses, life kept moving, but something inside me refused to participate. Not out of laziness, out of exhaustion that sleep couldn't fix. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't tired from doing too much. I was tired from being someone I wasn't. Every yes that should have been a no. Every time I swallowed my truth to keep the peace, every moment I made myself smaller so I wouldn't be too much. They didn't disappear, they accumulated like ash. And eventually, that ash covered everything that once felt alive inside me. But the breaking point didn't come from some grand failure. It came from a quiet, almost embarrassing realization. I couldn't remember the last time I felt like myself. Not the version people liked, not the version that performed well, but the version that felt real, unfiltered, unapologetic. That's when the illusion cracked, because for so long, I had believed something dangerous, that if I just kept adjusting, kept accommodating, kept being easy to love, eventually I would feel fulfilled. But the truth is, fulfillment doesn't come from being accepted. It comes from being aligned. And I was completely out of alignment. That's when I came face to face with something most people spend their entire lives avoiding. The realization that I had built a life that looked right, but felt wrong. And here's where it gets uncomfortable. Because it's easy to blame circumstances. It's easy to point at people, expectations, pressure, timing, but none of those were the real problem. The real problem was this. I'd handed over the responsibility of my inner state to things I could never control. What people thought of me, how they responded, whether they stayed, whether they approved. I had built my sense of worth on unstable ground, and then wondered why everything felt like it was shaking. That's when I discovered something that changed everything. Not a quote, not a motivational speech, but a principle so simple, it almost felt offensive. You don't control what happens. You don't control how people see you. You don't control whether they choose you, but you control how you show up. You control what you tolerate. You control what you keep feeding and what you finally let die. And in that moment, I realized something I couldn't unsee. My fire wasn't gone. It was suffocating. Under everything I refused to confront. Every time I avoided a hard truth, I added another layer. Every time I chose comfort over honesty, I pressed it deeper. And the worst part, I had convinced myself this was maturity, growth, being a good person, but it wasn't. It was self-abandonment, disguised as virtue. That realization doesn't feel empowering at first. It feels brutal because it means you can't keep waiting. You can't keep hoping something external will come and fix what you've been neglecting internally. It means the responsibility comes back to you fully. And that's where most people stop, because taking your power back sounds inspiring, until you realize it also means taking full ownership of how you've been giving it away. But if you can stay in that discomfort just a little longer, something shifts. You stop asking, why don't I feel alive? And you start asking, where did I start betraying myself? You stop chasing motivation and you start rebuilding integrity with your own voice. You stop trying to be chosen and you start choosing. And that's the moment, the exact moment where the ashes begin to move. Not because something magical happened, but because for the first time in a long time, you stopped running from yourself. Now you know the truth. And truth without action is just another form of self-betrayal. So here's where it changes. Not tomorrow, not when you feel ready. Now, step 1, face it. Stop calling your numbness being tired. Stop dressing up your silence as peace. Name it for what it is. Disconnection from your own fire. Step 2, set the boundary. Cut off what drains you, even if it wants to find you. Not everything that feels familiar deserves to stay. Your energy is not a public resource. Step 3, rebuild your internal ground. Every single day, do one thing that is only yours, not for validation, not for approval, for alignment. Because the fire doesn't return through intensity, it returns through consistency. And here's the line you don't forget. Your fire was never lost. It was buried under everything you tolerated. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stand up, take it back. If you choose your own rebirth, write it down below. I take my fire back.